think of a theme that you're writing about right now. Like, what's a theme that you have?
Intergenerational trauma.
Yeah, now like write something where it's like everyone has it. It's just out in the open, and it's just so funny.
I mean, that's
it is.
Too,
yeah,
do it that way.
It's so funny.
Like you're saying, like it's like
it's a mess.
How far into the dark like can you go
to pop out and back on
to
the light?
Just boomerang to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what drama is too. It's like, how far can you take this? How deep can you go? You know, instead of staying lukewarm or staying bland, like how far can you take this situation to then, I think, you know, pop out on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes I write about myself on the other side, like being successful. I made that film and then think of all the unconscious things I would do just to be like, get it out of my system and laugh about. And then I'm like, this is actually a great character, you know, like, and then I just like include it.
Yeah.
So I try to just make it like more entertaining for myself.
The whole process.
Because then it's like, if I like it, then I'm sure other people will.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I start from. But I also have other ideas. Like I love film noir movies, like that look in old Hollywood, but I miss it like now. Like I wish there was a modern version of it. So I'm working on like a sci-fi version of that, which I find very, it's like childhood nostalgia project kind of thing.
I love that.
Because I love those film noirs where it's like, there's a damsel in distress, like the whole drama of that.
Yes.
But I think it'd be so funny to try do it now and make it like a little ironic, you know?
Yeah.
But still make it like super dark and like gangster-y, like all that stuff. But now I want to make it like spiritual gangsters or like something a little bit more relevant instead of like crime. Cause I think that's like done so many times.
Yeah, for sure.
And then like very similar concept to other movies I love where it's like you are invited to this experiment, but it's like your experience on Earth. You know, it's like, I always like thinking of like, let's make a movie about concepts or theories about what you do before we come here.
Right.
And if there's like a galactic...
Kind of like Soul, Pixar Soul. I mean, it's not quite like that, but...
Yeah, but let's say you're like, you already know you're not or the audience knows the character's not a good person. And so like, you can tell they need to have this experience, you know, that they're maybe a little racist, a little like sexist, you know, when they're like, you know, it starts off with like very The Office, like monologue, and you get to know that they're not really great people.
Yeah.
But then they get invited to this game and it's like, it's kind of like Squid Game, but it's less like of a psychological thing, more to help people explain like maybe why you're in the family you're in or why you are experiencing certain things that aren't pleasant. And have like a sense of humor about it, you know? So there's little things like that I like.
I've always had this like idea of like humans, like if there were these giant, I love bugs, so I always have this idea of like these like giant feet that just come down and squash us at any moment so that we can feel what it feels like to be a bug just existing. You just know that these larger beings are on top somewhere and can do that. And like just changing the perceptions of reality.
Zooming out. Yeah.
And where did that idea come from?
I don't know. I love bugs.
She senses that it can happen.
That's been my idea forever, so we'll see. But yeah, like what if that happened? What if like it's all just
the giants
trying to imagine. And then we to have people think differently before you kill a spider.
Yeah, that's a good point. Would then the foot kill certain only people?
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe people that aren't nice to bugs?
The mosquitoes, like, the ticks.
You deserve that.
Yeah. The parasites of the human race.
You could start a revolution here.
Exactly.
Don't squash the bugs.
I feel like it's kind of a similar thing to like what you're saying in a sense of like just, like that zoom out perspective.
Mm-hmm.
How do you conduct yourself? Look at yourself, look at this situation you're in and how you conduct yourself.
Yeah, I just love thinking concepts like that because then you really get to like play and not have any rules or anything.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
About it is that like there's no rules. Honestly, you don't even need anything. You just need your own brain, like a piece of paper, a pen. Like it's the most free art form there is to me.
What else do you guys like to do for fun? I just write.
No, I don't just write. That's my mind just goes to so many different places.
I like to run and be outside.
We do a lot of exercise. That's true.
Yeah, we have to use Aries movements. So we need to get our
A lot of Aries.
energy somehow at all times. But yeah, definitely just being outside, connecting with nature, running. Those are my favorite things.
I like thrills too. It's like can go both ways. It's like I either want to be idyllic in a field somewhere, or like plunging in a stream or doing some, I don't know. Ideally, I don't know. I love cliff diving. I love roller coasters. I love like paragliding. I love like anything that will really, it requires your full presence. And that's very visceral. I don't feel like I've done it in a while, but I used to, be a roller coaster lover.
Maybe we need to go skydiving.
Maybe we need to go skydiving. Yeah.
It's not that scary.
No, I don't think it would be either. I don't think it would be. So yeah, anything like that. And we love food. We're real foodies.
Love dessert, love chocolate. Love chocolate. I play music too. I play piano and guitar, which is like also very nice to be able to have that as an outlet, just to kind of relax. It's just a relaxing routine. And then I performed here and there, but I mostly just do for myself.
What do you like to do for fun, Bill?
Anything that gets me out of my comfort zone. Anything that just is like...
I know, you're the provocateur. Like, you like that.
Yeah. Because I like things that teach me something. Right. Like, that's why mushrooms I really enjoy, because I feel like when it gets too much, it's teaching me that like I have a problem letting go or like surrendering. So I like things that like force me to confront those things and just be like, chill out, And it's always like discomfort is uncomfortable, but it's also like necessary. I feel like. And so I also like experimenting with things like that. How can I use it to be more creative or be less in my head or less, I call it like distracted into thinkingness. Like I think a lot of being an artist is just like not doing that.
It's very disembodied. Like we're so disembodied. We're so in our minds. It's so like intellectual. And to a degree, you need that, when I've got all my cards of every, I know how film works. So I know at this point, something needs to happen and this is what it is and blah, blah, blah. But also to just, that has a place, but also to really be in the body, something that we've been talking about a lot is going back to dancing. I was a dancer growing up, I was dancing, acting, singing, all these things, like always the self-expression, and for me, especially even as an actress, a lot of the training was very, very fun. It was very visceral. We did the contact improv. We did all these different movement modalities from across the world. So when I was in school 40 hours a week, 3 hours we're actually sitting down, 37 hours on our feet. So we're playing, we're doing animal improv, so I love being in the body, and I don't feel like there's enough opportunity there's not a lot of like full-time careers where you can really explore that. And I really missed that part of my life where I was constantly moving and expressing myself through dance and, acting or.
Yeah, there's a book by Orion Mountain Dreamer. That's her name.
Great name.
It's like all about how sex, spirituality, and creativity are all one thing. And by sex, I don't mean like actual sex, but just like sensuality and like being erotic, dance, and just that's so also important for creativity.
That's the creative center. Yeah, you got to be alive.
It's like what you were saying. You need that logical part to come in and like structure things.
Yeah,
but that more embodied part, I guess that's technically the feminine.
It's the feminine. It's that receptivity. It's the magnetism. It's allowing things. It's just allowing yourself to be fully open and relaxed and in a full state of receptivity and opening up your heart, opening up your mind, allowing everything to go. And that's usually when it's like, for me, it feels like a waterfall comes gushing in with ideas, inspiration, direction, whatever it is, imagery, and then it's a cosmic playground.
Yeah. Because if you don't have energy, which is what basically creative and sexual energy. It's like you don't create anything. So that's why I think like dancing is the harmony of your masculine and feminine. Because if you can't express what you feel inside, like by dancing, and then it's just like stuck.
And so many people are stuck and feel stiff or feel like, you know? Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going out soon.
We're going out dancing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And for me, at least ideally, like, you know, I sound like a moon dancing hippie, which I probably am, but like, you know, ideally barefoot, like outside, like very connected, surrounded by the elements. I love a good fire. I love a good jump into some natural water, and especially when it's freezing. Love it. But anything visceral, anything that shocks you back into the body, you know, and puts you out of your mind. Because like all of the innovation is not going to come from us sitting behind our desks, staring at a screen. Yes, you can apply it there. Yes, that also has its place. It does need to go through that format, no matter what art form you're doing nowadays in our modern world. It's going to go through the technological aspect, and it has its place. But like the real liberating type of innovation, that doesn't come when you're sitting like this. It comes when you're alive and living and new experiences. I think that's my food. And I think, right? Yeah. Like expanding your horizons, and I'm
changing your perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Out somewhere new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And doing it perhaps in a centered way. I have a tendency to change my surroundings pretty quickly, pretty often because of my childhood. You know, I got used to it, but also thrive on change. I'm like, okay, let me just reset, and you know, and then finding, okay, where's the healthy balance there? How can you innovate within certain structures that are also healthy for you and nourish you, right? And bringing those elements in.
What is the most memorable thing from your past that kind of like excites you now? Think about.
What's the most memorable thing from my past that excites me now? Giving birth? Is that too intense of a story? It's epic. I mean, the way that I got to do it, you know, like if there's one thing that I would do over and over and over again in this lifetime, I would totally give birth. I know that's really controversial, but for sure, coupled with a conscious conception, absolutely. It's like, I mean, really, like, especially when you approach the whole process like that, you know, with a real sense of conscious intentionality, with real connection, and then you allow yourself as a woman to be the force of nature that you are, this literal multidimensional bridge. I know people throw that around, but like when you experience it, it's the most psychedelic experience I've ever had in my life. And my birth, you know, my first one was very long. But to be able to call in a soul consciously, or to connect with a soul prior, to have that conscious conception straight away, to then carry that and build that connection all the way, and to then be able to then, you know, talk about creativity, to then receive your own child. And the second one I caught myself, I think is the most magical, most empowering thing that can happen for any, you know, woman that can and wants to have kids like that. But I think that process is really, you know, that unbelievably empowering process has been robbed from a lot of women. And I think that there is an awakening happening. And I think that, nothing is more powerful than that. I would never want to live this life without those experiences.
And then what's the another meaningful thing that you've experienced that you kind of regret?
What is a meaningful experience that I regret? Well, if it has meaning, how can there be regret?
You know what I mean? It's kind of embarrassing or cringy to think about.
Oh, embarrassing or cringy to think about. Oh my gosh.
What's like an unconscious time of your life?
Oh, my fire phase. I call it my fire phase, where I was full on moon in Aries, just ablaze. I would say like my late teens into my early 20s was probably just a lot of experimentation. Like, I mean, cringy, I don't know if it's cringy. It's like, I guess maybe for some people who witnessed it. But from my perspective, it was also just very fun, very liberating, very experimental stage in every avenue of my life. Lots of moving, lots of, you know, just, exploration. Cringy, is there anything specific? Have I told you something that I'm like not remembering? I'm like,
what about you, Mad Dog? What's something that you kind of think about that excites you and also you kind of cringe at?
Also, I kind of cringe at. I mean, directing my thesis film in college. That was my last project in college. That was the best thing because it was so stressful. Like I had no idea what I was doing, like in that kind of way. So I just, looking back on it, well, I remember in the moment like feeling cringy because I was like, I don't really know, like, am I doing this right? And everything. Now I look at it and I'm like, that's pretty cool. But just to write something and then watch it just come to life and other people getting involved that care about it and have other ideas, so it changes from what you even thought it would be. I worked really, it was somewhat provocative, some of the scenes. So I worked really closely with my actresses to be like, you know, if you're not cool with this, like we can do it.
You still have to do it.
Yeah, you still have to do it. Sorry. No, but I didn't want to sacrifice the story in any way. So it was sort of like, you know, you still kind of have to do this somehow, but let's like come up with something. Well, there was like a naked scene and she's like, I don't really feel comfortable doing it. And I was like, okay, well, what can we do? Because I have to have this scene. And we ended up coming up with, like I'll just wear nude underwear, like a nude tank top. And I was happy with that. So stuff like that.
Nudity was like the norm in my drama school.
Yeah.
There was a play that didn't have some form of nudity.
Yeah. And these, actors.
It's very European, maybe.
Yeah. I think
Europeans quite.
So yeah, just stuff like that. And even just ideas of how something could be done better. Like I wrote it in one way and then somebody's like, hey, like, are you open to trying it this way? And you're like, you know, I never thought of it that way, but it begins as your project and then it ends as like this family that has come together too. Yeah.
That's the beauty of film.
Thing.
It's collaboration.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like that's what I miss the most doing too, especially where we work. We don't really get the opportunity to
cross-contaminate,
which is fine. It's not what we're about, but it'd be cool to do that one day.
Mm-hmm.
Billy. The next question.
Yeah, what evil question now?
What's the cringe?
What's the cringe? I feel like we have similar cringes and I feel like we spoke about it on the bed when we were on our Airbnb trip.
What was mine?
I'm not. I'm not repeating.
I can't think about it. I don't know.
I can.
But really?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot. I can think of so many funny things.
It's like define cringe.
Well, like just basically explain how you were back then to now. Like what was the part of you that
I guess, yeah, maybe similar. Definitely in college, just obviously made a lot of questionable decisions.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah, really nice way of putting it for sure.
But questionable decisions that you stood completely behind at the time.
Exactly. So yeah, I would say some of that stuff. Wouldn't regret anything, but definitely would do things differently.
Right.
This person with this experience.
Probably slap myself in the face a little bit.
A little bit. Just like I said. And that's the magic of it all.
Yeah.
Because I was who I was and I did what I did.
Yeah, I did what I did.
And now I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for me, I've been thinking about this a lot because in college too, I made a film called Cloak. It was like a film noir, black and white, super 16 millimeter, like 37 minutes, almost like a feature. And back then I did everything by the book, but when I shot it, it was all in the moment. Nothing was planned, storyboarded. I just knew the shots I wanted. And I knew I only had a certain amount of time because it's like a student film. You don't have all day to shoot. You have like that limited time. So I was forced to do everything so much more intuitively. And so in the moment where like, now that I look back of it and I watch it, like it's definitely me learning how to make a film. So it's not necessarily like a masterpiece. It's like the opposite. When I watch it, I'm like, oh, like what was I thinking?
Oh, like that. Okay.
Yeah, like, but it was so funny for me because at that time I was also in a place where there was like siblings were like doing drugs and I couldn't help, and I felt like lost and separate from that and helpless because I couldn't do anything. So I tried to make a film kind of on that spectrum. And that was before I knew anything or really dove into symbolism or storytelling really. But when I look back at it, I was so intuitively filmmaking that it's like the same hero's journey. And I didn't even know I was writing it. I was just like following the same just arc that I knew. But when I look back, I'm like, wow, I like intuitively knew how to talk about something very universal, but I didn't have the skill to like make it clear or like super powerful. Because in the end, it's also, I look back and I like know when I see it, that's like exactly where I was in life. And the whole story was, I think it's so interesting when I tell you and look back at my life. So the whole story was this guy's a hitman and he has to put a hit on this like judge because he's like trying to put his gang or something in prison and everything. So he goes and plans to like make a hit, and he has a partner who's like just like a drug addict and kind of psychotic and loves being a hitman and takes like the pleasure out of violence kind of thing. But then during his life he meets this woman that like starts to like change him a little bit. But then after he does a hit, he realizes that he killed that girl's father. And then the whole boss leader or whatever finds out that he has a relationship with this guy's daughter, and then tells his partner that he has to kill him, But then he has a moment where, he has like flashbacks of his life and not knowing who his family was. And then realizing that he didn't want to continue being a hitman. He wanted something new. And then, but the thing that I look back that's kind of cringy and I didn't know why I did this was at the end is that he definitely sacrifices himself so she could live. But then at the end, while he's like dying, she's like, I'm pregnant. And that's how it ends.
Oh gosh.
And now I look back and I'm like, what the? I kind of was like, what was I wanting from that?
Yeah.
That's
that's how you learn.
Project. Yeah. That's how you learn.
You know how she's saying earlier, like how my dialogue's so great? It really wasn't.
Right.
It really wasn't. Okay. It was bad.
Yeah.
And you have to allow yourself to be bad. That's why I'm never hung up on like, you just, in the creative process, just sometimes when I write a scene, just make the bad version first. That's how I think. And usually it's not even that bad, because you're allowing yourself for it to be what it is. But, the dialogue was not good. It was narratized. It wasn't dramatized. I'm like, well, this is just the most until I had a mentor who really like, at first it took a while, but then finally I was like, I get it, and then it starts flying and becoming its own thing.
Because I think a fun exercise, I'd be curious to see what you guys would do with it is like, how I tell you when I write to just write the opposite of what the theme is. It'd be so funny to hear you guys just flow in an unfiltered, like, let's say you have to write an NC-17 script.
What is that?
Sounds
like not rated R, like above rated R, like a movie, the rating.
Yeah, like
it's PG, there's R.
I'm European. You've got to translate the...
Okay, so it's like X
rated, which means...
Yeah.
Just like anything. There's nothing...
Like extreme violence or extreme...
Yeah, whatever within that category.
Okay.
I think it's so fun to have that exercise. Like, what would your version of that be?
That's a good question.
Because from that, you get so many new things you've never, ever thought about writing.
That's so true.
Like, and it's just an exercise.
And again, that's like similar to... you're just like when you travel to get a new perspective, it's like you write differently, you write something about something you've never written about before, so you just create all these new ideas from that because you're not used to being in that place.
I like that.
Yeah, because I was in that place when I wrote that script. I like definitely was like in a battle in my own head, feeling helpless. So like that main character felt that, like was shown that in that film. Yeah. And ever since then, I also, when I was really young and kind of in a super emo, depressed mode, I would write really, really like heavy stories to myself, like just to release whatever I was dealing with. And then back then there was like Yahoo groups or like some group message board that would share it on. And people would have such polarizing reactions to it that I was like, I'm onto something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And then I fell in love with like Chuck Palahniuk because he does that. He like finds
he's very good. He's in
yeah, he's like inspired me where there's like beauty in like the really fucked up stuff. But then, and you can write it in a way that's not fucked up. Like I feel like you can.
It's always poetic behind it. Yeah.
So ever since then, I've loved stuff that scars you in a way, but not like in a bad way. Yeah. I guess if that makes sense. Because then I feel like if that's something that could move you that much, then you could probably write something like that.
For sure.
You know?
I'm just having cringe moments fly through my mind as you're talking.
Please tell.
I'm like, wait, what is cringe? Okay, so this is really bad. This is cringe. This is why I'm cringing. So I had a huge crush on Daniel Radcliffe, and I can't believe I'm saying that publicly. No, he's good. If he ever sees this, he's cool. So I had a huge crush on him. And, you know, the Harry Potter films kind of came out when I was 10 to 20. So it was like the perfect timing to really grow up with them. Not only did we grow up with the books, but then also with the films. And so they were casting for, is it Romilda Vane? I don't forget what the character's name is, but I was like, it's my role. And so did I recently tell you this, that I've done this? Okay. So essentially I got, you know, Harry Potter 4 had just come out. And so I don't know if I had a sense of entitlement or like I just like made shit happen. I got Hermione's dress made, that pink dress that she wears at the prom. I got it made exactly for me, tailored to me. And so I wore that, and then I had my hair done as her, and then I had a tiara on. And then I made a rap about why they should cast me as this woman. And then I filmed it and I sent it to Warner Brothers.
Do you still have that video?
I don't know. It must be somewhere. I was rapping about like why I should have this role. And looked ridiculous, like really, really bad. And
is that how you flirt now?
Yeah, and I did write. I wrote down a love letter about how we were past life lovers. It was like, poor man. I did end up meeting him a few times.
He's like, oh, I gotta think for him. Yo, let me go rap.
You know.
I like that. That's good.
I'm like going on about past lives. He doesn't even believe in that. I'm like, this is really awkward.
We should, maybe you have a future in that.
Maybe have a future.
Rap.
You know what? Okay, videos. I will say I do have a secret talent for that. I think that yes, but no one has seen it. And if I could do some karaoke,
so does
especially
Daniel Radcliffe.
He does. Rap. That's right. Maybe that's why I liked him. Anything like, you know, stuff from Hamilton as well. Like I just love that stuff. I'll sit in my car and just like bang it out. And I'm like, wow, that's like my alter ego that comes out. I love it. It's good.
I would love to see that.
This is good to know.
I would love
this is
to
good
see
information.
That. Yeah. So yeah, cringe. A lot of it revolved around Daniel Radcliffe. And I remember convincing my entire class that I would meet him and all would be well. And they were just, you know, and then I met him at 18. I took a picture with him and I said, told you so. It's like, but did anything happen? I'm like, no, I just gave him a book and a love letter. And then I was like, yeah, I'm past this now.
Was it like an obsession? Like, you know, like teenage?
No, and it's strange because I never had like the you know, I mean, Daniel Radcliffe, yeah, he's cool, but it's not like he's like the hot stuff of celebrity. And like none of that really like activated much in me. I think it was, I don't know what it was. I really liked his taste in books and like, I don't know. I just thought he was funny and witty and I don't know.
Have you ever heard the artist Billy Piper?
No.
The pop artist from Europe or something? That's the crush I had. And the music, now I look back, it's cringy, but I like loved it. I'd buy all the VH music videos, like, and just watch it on loop. Like, be obsessed with collecting like all the media of that artist at that time. And it was ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I had us photoshopped in my school diary at 13 for sure. With a bunch of pictures of roller coasters that I wanted to do in my life. It was like,
that is so funny. That's so cute.
Yes.
Daniel Radcliffe and roller coasters.
Daniel Radcliffe, God bless.
What about you, Amanda? Did you have any
cringe.
weird
I don't know why
obsessions?
You know, there's been. I mean, I definitely. Okay, well, I will tell you this, and we were talking about this before. I'll bring it up right now. I'm really, really good at Dance Revolution. Only because I've been playing since I was like 10. So now I'm 30. So that's what happens when you are obsessed with something for that long. But I used to like have a dream of like all my neighbors coming over and watching me play. But I think that's kind of funny.
Do you still dream about that?
No.
So you need to dance and I need to rap.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really.
That sounds
I would just imagine that all the time. All my neighbors just come to the basement, like, watch me play Dance Dance Revolution, and like
loving
I
it.
don't know. Yeah, just loving it.
Just be like, yes, this is what I want.
This is my super talent.
And my friends, all my friends were there too. My whole family was there. Yeah.
Did you dress up when you dance or just regular?
No, just regular.
Yeah. That'd be funny to see.
No Hermione dress for you.
No Hermione dress for me.
I wore that once. It was like,
I wish there was though. Be a better story to tell about.
maybe we should. I feel like I have it somewhere still. My poor parents allowed it. I think my mom used to say, she said to me, I was so impressed that you found the tailor. You just did everything. I just had to let you do it. Like I just had to sit back and let you do it.
Totally fair.